often violent electoral competition and ensure equity in resource distribution in Kenya. A task force was launched to provide a forum for Kenyans to speak to these issues and propose solutions for consideration and appropriate action. Along the way, the BBI became the focal point for constitutional changes. As citizens, we recall that the journey to and post-Bomas 1, that is in November 2019, was marked by exclusion in ownership of the BBI process and therefore suspicion, hostility, and attempts at profiling Kenyans as pro or anti-handshake. Kenyans persevered and overcame these divisive attempts, and indeed the Bomas 1 document was largely accepted by all Kenyans. After a validation exercise marked by attempts at imposing views on Kenyans through highly choreographed public rallies, which met the resistance of Wananchi, a second report was launched at the Bomas of Kenya on the 26th of October 2020, the Bomas 2 report. Bomas 2 proposed key constitutional, policy, legislative, and administrative changes. Reflections on Bomas 2 recommendations. As citizens representing numerous and diverse sectors, interest groups, and other stakeholders present at the launch, we noted and welcomed a number of progressive ideas in the recommendations, including proposals to protect data privacy, achieve gender parity in the Senate, privileging of economic and social rights, the establishment of the office of the leader of opposition, the establishment of the Youth Commission, the increase in revenue allocation to counties, the entrenching in the constitution of the Constituency Development Fund, the CDF, and the Ward Development Fund, the inclusion of the primary aspects of the hustler's economy under economy and shared prosperity. Okay, just keep going. Okay. Kenyans also appreciated suggestions to enhance youth participation and create an enabling environment for them to find employment, do business, engage in innovation, including proposals on moratoriums on student loans. From number 7.
I'll continue from where she stopped. However, loyal and patriotic Kenyans immediately raised a number of critical issues in good faith with a view that everyone wins this process. The issues coalesced around the following. Number 1, the independence of the judiciary and the general areas of access to justice. Many Kenyans support judicial accountability and transparency, but saw the proposal to create a judicial ombudsman as an acceptable derogation of judicial independence that goes against the imperative to protect, uphold, and defend the independence of the judiciary. Number 2, the independence of IEBC and the management of elections. The recommendation that political parties participate in the appointment of commissioners was seen as a building bias into electoral system. Number 3, the independence and professionalism of police service. The proposal in the BBI for the formation of police council under the cabinet minister was seen in many quarters as impacting negatively the integrity and professionalism, and therefore a direct assault on the police service. Number 4, the mandate of the Senate in terms of protecting devolution and its general oversight role. The BBI proposal denied the Senate the constitutional mandate as a forum for the discussion and arbitration of matters relating to division of revenue. Number 5, the place of women in our legislature and the issue of affirmative action principle in our constitutional infrastructure. The proposal abolished the women representative position at the National Assembly, essentially excluding women from the center of critical decision making, relegating the participation of women to nominal and tokenistic roles. The concerns of the diverse stakeholders. I'll invite the Honorable Duale, or Honorable Victor, to take us through this.
After Bombers 2, more stakeholders continued to reach out with further input to enrich and improve the proposals. Some of the stakeholders who engaged intensively with the proposals include the pastoralist communities who articulated their views through their parliamentary caucus as well as Frontier Counties Development Council, Protestant ministries, the Catholic Church, the Muslim leadership, other citizen groups, and civil society organizations. The stakeholders defended the independence of the institutions and the rejected proposals aimed at interfering with the independence of Parliament, the judiciary, the police, and the IBC. Thus, proposals in the BBI to introduce the judiciary ombudsman, police council, as well as the repeal of the director of public prosecutions, specifically opposed, as are the proposals aimed at changing the mode of appointment of electoral commissioners. The stakeholders also opposed the amendments on various grounds, including that the recommendation to create an imperial presidency weakened checks and balances, downgrading the level of representation in the National Assembly of low population constituencies, enabled the executive capture of the legislature and judiciary. Can do it from 12.
Many stakeholders, citing the COVID pandemic, the difficult economic circumstances, the high national debt, and gaps in public financial management, took issue with the prioritization of BBI and preparations for a referendum campaign in the current environment. They pleaded that attention be directed to runaway corruption, heightened political intolerance, the securitization of public affairs, as well as impunity and the flagrant disobedience of court orders by the executive. In conclusion, the stakeholders concluded that BBI proposals do not meet the stated and publicly declared objectives of the handshake and BBI of uniting Kenyans and ensuring that general elections will not be violent and are, in fact, a major clawback on the gains made by the 2010 Constitution. Additionally, the stakeholders questioned whether there are resources to support a referendum a year before elections and advocated a multiple choice referendum to prevent the rejection of good ideas and urged the escalation of efforts at building consensus rather than taking partisan positions. Post-Bombers changes progress towards consensus.
The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 was gazetted on the 25th November 2020. The Bureau reflects significant changes to the Bomas 2 document, adopting a number of concerns raised by stakeholders, including the following. The proposals on political party representation in IMBC through the appointment of commissioners has been dropped. The fair implication of having some players choosing the game's umpire has been noted and accepted. Similarly, the problematic idea of police council, ended by a cabinet minister, has been abandoned. The independence of the police service has therefore been retained. The proposed 70 nominated seats have been converted to representative electoral seats. A nominated seat would have benefited the individual nominee and encouraged political interference and manipulation of parliament. On the other hand, elective seats benefit constituencies through representation and the allocation of meaningful development resources. Moreover, historically, marginalized communities have secured protection by the extension of the validity of the equalization fund period to 30 years. The proposals that would have undermined the role of Senate have been abandoned. The alternative enhancement is a development in a positive direction. The role of Senate is vital to our governance. The Constituency and Development Fund, CDF, a critical tool for community-level socio-economic development, is now proposed to be anchored in the Constitution. The Bureau has a proposal that would anchor matters touching on the economy and the shared prosperity in the Constitution. Legislation to actualize and operationalize these proposals will be enacted within a year to give effect to what would otherwise have been abstract values. Article 11 here mainstreams the hustler economy, as well as the mandatory requirement for the President to make a report on the status of the achievement of economic and social rights. This proposal will safeguard the protection and actualization of the critical interests of the agricultural and the hustler sectors. As a consequence, within 1 year, legislation on guaranteed minimum return for all farmers, maize, coffee, wheat, tea, korosho, dengu, fish, livestock, potatoes, cabbages, miraa, among others, which is a vital anchor of productivity in the agriculture and food production, will be enacted as will be legislation for the establishment of the Livestock Marketing Authority. Similarly, legislation on a fund to support the hustler economy, micro, small, medium enterprise fund, and the entire Urubaro economic ecosystem will be enacted. From the foregoing, it is therefore clear that significant progress was made between Bomas 2 and KICC, and that the amendment bill adopted major inputs of stakeholders in fairly explicit terms. In essence, the gazetted document is a positively progressive development compared with the Bomas document. Our position post-Bomas that there was no way this process would proceed without bringing on board important sectors and constituencies that could have been overlooked has been vindicated. It is emphatically clear that the issues, concerns, and interests of ordinary people have found their way to the main table and are part of the national conversation. This is as it ought to be, and this must become the basis of all meaningful national deliberation going on forward.
Outstanding issues and opportunities to strike consensus. However, a number of issues raised by various stakeholders, including ourselves, remain outstanding and are yet to be conclusively and exhaustively addressed. The idea of accountability for all government organs is a strongly held tenet of democracy. The proposal on a judicial ombudsman speaks to the issue of accountability of judicial officers. We, however, strongly believe that judicial independence matters and must never be undermined, even if only in perception. We submit, therefore, that there still remain room for the Ombudsman's appointment mechanism to be reviewed and agreed upon, and for the appointment of the Ombudsman by the Judicial Service Commission or the Chief Justice will be more consistent with the principles of judicial independence than appointment by the executive, which runs contrary to the principles of separation of powers. At Bomas 2,
we oppose the establishment of 70 multi-member constituencies, seeking to move away from a culture of nominations and virtual constituencies. We are happy that the 70 constituencies which have been proposed to enhance representation. While we agree with the principle of equality and equity in representation, IEBC should vary the proposed constituencies by up to 20% so as to capture and accommodate the most expansive, arid, and largely marginalized areas, including Garissa, Nyeri, Wajir, Nyandarua, Kitui, Kisii, and Migori. The proposals on affirmative action and equality and representation are important principles, and there is a progressive attempt to address them. However, the outcome of the current proposal is that combined with nominations required to meet the two-thirds rule in accordance with Article 81, the size of parliament will increase from 416 seats to as high as 640. An increase of more than 200 MPs is untenable and a hugely unsustainable burden on the taxpayer. We bring back to the taxpayer. We propose that in addition to the 47 women elected to the Senate, we bring back the 47 women representatives elected to National Assembly. We note that this will allow for the elected women in the National Assembly to be nominated to the cabinet. We further propose all women representatives in parliament be directly elected by defined constituencies and should not be nominated or elected through party lists. In addition, we propose further discussion in parliament on the implementation of Article 81.
Thus, in furtherance of the above, we have three proposals to make. First, even with the post-Bomas gains and improvement to the document, these outstanding issues require attention, and we should build the necessary consensus to further enrich the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020, especially because we have to acknowledge certain realities, including the fact that the people of Kenya have voiced strong concern about the prudence of a bloated government. Second, and imperatively, the BBI recommendation do not propose a constitutional replacement through the repeal and promulgation, but rather an amendment of various discrete provisions. This calls into question the appropriateness of framing the referendum as a single question plebiscite when multiple issues must be considered. A multiple choice referendum is clearly more appropriate and as provided for in the current bill before Parliament, the referendum bill by the COIC Chair, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni. We feel we should take that route. Third, we must consider the circumstance which we find ourselves as a country. We are in the midst of a deadly pandemic that has ravaged our country, killing close to 1,500 Kenyans, including our frontline health workers, infecting nearly 100,000 Kenyans, and affecting the livelihood of millions of others, straining public health sector, and instigating an economic and a financial meltdown. The deepening financial quagmire has led to the destruction of livelihoods, of enterprises owned mainly by the hustlers, and consequential loss of jobs and shrinks of revenue, as evidenced by the last quarter posting of the Kenya Revenue Authority that ended in October. Additionally, we are haunted by the reality that we are yet to create confidence in our education system, ability to make schools safe enough for our children to resume school in January because of the myriad challenges facing the entire education and school system, which has remained largely unaddressed. Given the foregoing, it is legitimate to question the wisdom of spending 14 billion shillings a year before an election that will cost us another 42 billion going by the 2017 figures of the IEBC, when a referendum could be conducted as the 7th ballot in a general election at a virtually no cost. We believe that it's prudent to hold the referendum, and we are proposing that along, having done all the others. Take it to the county assemblies, take to parliament, and the only remaining item is for the citizens to vote in. We can defer that, and we feel it is prudent to hold that referendum along with the general election in 2022, inshallah.
Therefore, encouraged by this demonstration of a very real prospect of finally converging towards respectful, code and peaceful consensus on the matter of BBI related, the prospect of reggae becoming Jerusalem. Emphasizing our long-held and firm-maintained position that we must avoid contentious, win-lose, divisive, or acrimonious referendum that hold the potential to breed hate, ethnic polarization, and conflicts, cognizant that we are in the midst of the deadly pandemic that has ravaged our country, aware of a struggling economy which is on the verge of full-scale collapse, aware of a struggling economy which is on the verge of a full-scale collapse, recognizing that we have not built the capacity to handle the huge risk that comes with the reopening of schools, as well as tremendous financial outlay required to enhance school facilities in this COVID phase. And after broad consultation, length engagement, and robust deliberation with a wide spectrum of various stakeholders on the matter of the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020, we appreciate the good proposal in the amendment bill and also acknowledge the positive efforts made in accommodating various concerns relating to outstanding issues as indicative of progress towards consensus. With the progress we are making in building consensus on important constitutional, institutional, and administrative changes, we recommend that resources earmarked for BBI-related activities be redirected to COVID mitigation measures and supporting the recovery of micro and small enterprises. As a part of the consensus, we will be asking for clear directions on issues of land and historical injustices.
Based on the above, our position is as follows. We care far too much for our country and fellow Kenyans to reduce this important exercise to a question of yes and no. Not just because it is premature and simplistic, but because there is real progress towards consensus that we need to resolve outstanding issues inclusively exhaustively and conclusively. Democracy provides us with infinite opportunity for deliberative consensus building. It is how great societies are built. It is how all Kenyans, in their great diversity, come together to make a beautiful future for themselves and for future generations. It is worth stating, time without number, that consensus is the right thing to do and the right way to go. We must therefore never tire or relent or give up doing the right thing. Consensus entails both speaking and listening. We must listen to one another. The time is always right for consensus building. Therefore, we submit once more that it is never too late to do the right thing. Every time is consensus time. We have been asked what we mean by consensus. The consensus we seek and this country needs is in relation to content, process, and timing. In short, we must agree on the what, the how, and when. The consensus is to align the process with its founding objectives and bring it closer to the dreams and aspirations of Kenyans. By content, we mean we resolve outstanding issues through consensus, including issues on judicial independence, bloated government and legislature, equity and equality in representation and affirmative action, among others. By process, we mean providing a multiple choice plebiscite to prevent the rejection of good ideas. By timing, we mean we should hold the referendum in 2022 together with the general election in order to save costs and direct available resources to mitigating the effects of COVID-19. Let all with one accord, in common board united, build this, our nation, together. Thank you.
Largely, I think everything that needed to be said by this team has been said by the speakers who have read our statement. We will make the statement available to members of the media. And the statement we have made here, we have made the statement in very good faith, because this is our country. We are leaders in this country, and we must provide leadership as we engage with other leaders in the exercise of building consensus so that we can avoid an unnecessary divisive contest. In a nutshell, let me say that we appreciate the challenges this process has gone through. We appreciate that there has been a lot of push and pull. Many of the members of this team have been victimized for holding different opinions from those of others. We believe and we ask that we want to walk together this journey. We are not making any demands of anybody. We are putting our case. And we believe that we have a very strong case. The same way, in Bomas, there were proposals that had been put on the table. This team, the church, the Muslim community, pastoralists, members of county assemblies, council of governors, and a host of other stakeholders made their contributions to what was presented in Bomas. Those proposals were taken on board. A majority of those proposals were taken on board, as has been stated here by members of this team. We appreciate that the IEBC will not be politicized and they can be an independent institution to run our elections independent of political parties. We also appreciate that the independence of the police has been captured and secured. We also agree that the Senate must be left with the duties and responsibilities that they have carried out so far, and we appreciate even further that additional responsibilities have been given to the Senate, as the Senate of Kenya is a critical institution in matters devolution and in matters taking Kenya forward. We also appreciate that the Article 11A, which many members of this team canvassed on ensuring that ordinary people and their issues are part of the discussion. Finally, we have Article 11A that speaks to the economy and shared prosperity that will ensure that every citizen, especially the micro, the small enterprises, the pastoralists, the people in our farms, and the many Kenyans who ordinarily are not made part of the discussion and ordinarily are not part of the Constitution. For the first time, we have their issues firmly embedded in the Constitution. And it is important to also note that a timeline has been placed on the actualization of Article 11A. Within 1 year, we should be able to implement all the issues to do with pastoralists and the marketing of their issues, matters to do with guaranteed minimum returns of all our products, ensuring that the hustler economy has a fund that is going to ensure that we support micro, small enterprises to grow into serious businesses. And members of this team are going to make sure that the necessary legislation to operationalize Article 11A will be put in place as soon as possible. In fact, the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro already has a bill on GMR that now is going to be anchored in the constitutional provision under Article 11A. We have also, the Constitution now makes it mandatory that the President of Kenya will go to Parliament every year to give a State of the Nation address on the matter of shared prosperity, on the matter of attainment and progress made on ensuring that no Kenyans are left behind. That is important to as many ordinary Kenyans as it is to us and every Kenyan. Having said that, we have taken the position that there is room for us to improve this document further. And we have stated categorically and respectfully that it is never too late to do the right thing. We believe that there are a couple of outstanding issues. The judiciary is still uncomfortable, for example, with the judiciary ombudsman and the manner in which it's appointed. We all agree that accountability is central to the performance of any arm of government, including the judiciary. And we are making proposal here that it is possible for us to agree that an ombudsman be appointed in a manner that is acceptable to the judiciary, either proposed by the JSC or appointed by the Chief Justice and vetted by Parliament so that we have checks and balances. We are also saying, because we are making that proposal because we are sensitive to the centrality of independence of the judiciary. We do not want to send any signal that we want to compromise the independence of the judiciary. Yet, we must hold the judiciary to account. So we must balance between those two rights. Secondly, we are also making the proposal on the size of Parliament, the size of the executive. Kenyans are concerned about how much it costs for them to run government. And the proposal we are making here is that we can have a win-win. We agree with the proposal that appointments, or not appointments, but in Senate, 47 women are elected as senators. But we are of the view that instead of too much nomination, we should again elect women reps as we have done to National Assembly. We are saying that because we want the participation and contribution of women leaders to be substantial, meaningful, and not token representation. It is in the National Assembly that discussions on matters budget, matters resource allocation, serious matters of how to take the country forward is taking place. And it is important that we have elected women in the National Assembly. So the proposal we are making is that apart from the 47 women elected in Senate, we should have 47 women elected in the National Assembly. And with that, we should be able to reduce the number of nominations. And our target, the current proposal in BBI, would take Parliament all the way towards 600 members. This proposal will make Parliament, we will cut almost 60 or 70 members if we adopt this proposal. So we are saying we can cut down the size of Parliament by up to almost 60 or 70 members of Parliament if we adopt this proposal we are making. And therefore, I do not think anybody can say that it is too late to make a huge saving on the kind of savings we are going to make if we adopt a proposal that reduces substantially the size of our legislature. We are also of the firm belief that adjustments can be made. We agree on the principle of the new 70 constituencies. Why do we say so? The position of this team all along is that in Bomas, it was suggested that these are people who will be appointed. They will just be members of parliament. Our position is nominating members of parliament gives jobs to people, and the public benefits nothing. Therefore, we suggested that the 70, instead of being nomination of persons, it be converted to constituencies. As we've said here, that was done. We now have 70 constituencies. All we are requesting now going forward is that the 70 constituencies will be delimited by IEBC, that we give a window to IEBC to vary slightly up to about 20%, because we agree with the original principle that there must be equality of representation. and there is a case that has been made that there are sections, counties in our country that are underrepresented. We believe that we can balance that requirement of equality in representation by allowing the IEBC to vary slightly, because we have huge areas, like we have said, in Kitui that have raised concerns, in Garissa, for example, Ijara, that have raised concerns, in Wajir, as Wajir South, that have raised concern, in Nyeri, Kieni is 52% of Nyeri County. In Nyandarua, where we have Kinangop here, which is a huge constituency. In Migori, in Kisii, and Marsabit, and those areas. So what we are saying is there is room. If we just put a rider in the BBI text that 70 constituencies, as the IEBC is delimiting the 70 constituencies, they are allowed to vary to an extent of 20% so that we can take care of the areas that have raised concern. And we are not saying the areas we have just listed. I think there are, among others, there are more areas that have said that, but we do not believe there will be more than 10 or 12 areas that need to be considered. And finally, I think we have also been cognizant that we do not, I think many Kenyans have been wondering, why are we insisting on a consensus on process? We have been insisting on consensus on process because we know there is a way we can make this referendum win-win. We know there is a way we can accommodate everybody. We know there is a way we can remove this referendum from being win-lose. There is a mechanism that can allow us to vote on the issues instead of the personalization of the referendum. We do not want the referendum to be so-and-so versus so-and-so, because so-and-so is leading this place, is leading no, and so-and-so is leading yes. That, in my opinion, is backward. In fact, we are reducing the referendum to something else. We can make it much more progressive by providing a mechanism for Kenyans to vote on the issues. We have, as a team here, agreed that we will support the proposal by CIOC in Parliament to provide a mechanism in the referendum where Kenyans can vote on issues, not just a yes-no referendum. Maybe I will explain a bit. For example, there are Kenyans who have no issue with 35% going to the counties, and they want to vote yes. But there is a Kenyan who has a problem with the judiciary ombudsman. He wants to vote no. Why do we force a Kenyan to vote for something he does not want, or to vote against something he wants? It is practically possible for us to give an opportunity for Kenyans to vote yes for resources going to the county, and to vote no for what he doesn't want or she doesn't want. And that is the opportunity we are saying should be made available to Kenyans. What will that do? The opportunity to allow Kenyans to vote on issues will completely remove this us versus them, no, yes referendum contest. Completely. It will remove it. There will be no need for us now to have teams campaigning yes this way, others campaigning no that way. We will then focus on issues. Which are the issues Kenyans will vote for, which are the issues Kenyans will not vote for, and the reasons why, and we can always take this forward. And let me say for the record that it was okay for us to vote no yes in the last referendum because we were enacting a new constitution. So the vote was between the current and the old. Now we are not voting for the whole constitution. We are voting for articles of the constitution. So it is perfectly in order for us to assemble articles that are together and vote for them separately. And that's all we are asking. We are also saying, as responsible Kenyans and as responsible leaders, that and as responsible leaders, we are saying we are in the middle of a pandemic that has ravaged our country. Many Kenyans have become victims of the COVID-19 virus. Many Kenyans have lost loved ones. Some have gone through untold suffering, including members present here in hospitals. Many Kenyans are not able to afford. You saw, I think it is in the media, that it costs about 21,000 every day. Very few Kenyans can afford that kind of costs. And the attendant issues of a financial crisis that has been occasioned by the corona pandemic. We want a discussion, a candid discussion. Our proposal is we should commit every resource that is available towards tackling the corona pandemics, alleviating the serious crisis in our economy, making sure that in January there are face masks, there are desks, there are facilities for our kids in school in January, and that there is a possibility for us to take this referendum together with the election in 2022. We want to offer a discussion. We are not saying that it is cast in stone. We want to be persuaded why it's not possible for us to do it in 2022. Our proposal is we can do it together with the election in 2022. So these are proposals we are putting on the table in good faith. And we are requesting the other stakeholders. We are requesting the other stakeholders. To give us, to engage with us, so that we can responsibly be able to prosecute this initiative together. Many of you may want to ask me, maybe Kenyans will get confused, maybe how will they vote for the different items? But let me answer it this way. When Kenyans go to vote in an election, they vote for MCA, Member of Parliament, Women Rep, Senator, Governor, President, 6 positions. Right? In the 6 positions they vote for, there are 10 candidates for one position, 15 for another. They are literally voting from a group of almost 100 people. But they still manage to identify who they want. So if we make this referendum 6 or 7 questions, independent questions, there is absolutely no difference with how Kenyans vote when they go for election. So it is absolutely reasonable for us to isolate 5, 6, 7 items, itemize them, and Kenyans can vote independently like the way they do in every general election. Nimeelezwa ya kwamba nifanye summary kidogo kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. I'm not good at it. I don't know. Nani ata imetosha eh? No, lakini wacha niseme hivi. Tumefanya mkutano wa kundi letu hapa, wabunge 146 na senators 7 pamoja na viongozi wengine wengi waliohudhuria kikao hiki. Wengi wetu hapa ni wa kutoka vyama mbalimbali, kwa sababu jambo hili la kubadilisha katiba sio jambo la chama, ni jambo ambalo linahusu wa Kenya kwa jumla. Tumekubaliana na yale mambo ambayo yameshughulikiwa kutoka Bomas mpaka KICC. Tumeona ya kwamba kuna mambo wa Kenya stakeholders mbalimbali walitoa maoni yao, na mambo kadha yamechukuliwa na sasa imewekwa katika katiba ambayo imependekezwa. Kati ya mambo yale ni kuondoa mambo ya shida ya polisi, mambo ya IBC imewachwa, hakuna matatizo tena. Wacha tu niseme hii Kiswahili ni sawa. Mambo yale mengine yote yameshughulikiwa, lakini tumesema ili tuweze kutembea pamoja kama Wakenya, kuna mambo machache ambayo pia ni ya muhimu. Bado kuna utata, mambo ya judiciary na independence ya judiciary. Tuko na mapendekezo ya vile kuondoa utata huo. Tuko na maneno ya representation ambayo tumekubali kwamba sehemu za wakilishi bunge zingine 70 ziundwe, lakini tumependekeza ya kwamba 20% IEBC, kamati ambayo inasimamia uchaguzi, wapatiwe nafasi 20% waweze kurekebisha, ndio tuweze kushughulikia sehemu ambazo wametoa malalamiko. Vile vile tumekubaliana ya kwamba bunge, Wakenya wengi wanalalamika kuhusu kiasi ya pesa ambayo itatumika katika kuendesha bunge mpya, na tumetoa mapendekezo ya kwamba tunaweza kupunguza kutoka ile bunge BBI imependekeza, tunaweza kuondoa wabunge wengine karibu 50-60 ili tuweze kupunguza size ya bunge na kupunguza pia gharama ya wananchi katika mambo ya kuendesha mambo yao. Na mwisho tumesema vile vile hatutaki kwenda kwenye kura ya maoni, inaitwa kura ya maamuzi, hatutaki kwenda kwenye kura ya maamuzi ya kusema tu ndio ama la. Bunge letu la Kenya tayari inatengeneza sheria ambayo itasimamia mambo ya referendum, na hiyo sheria inapendekeza ya kwamba kuwe na kura katika articles ama vipengele tofauti. Hakuna haja ya kusema ndio ama la. Kama unapenda mambo ya 35%, 35% kwenda kwa county, unaweza kusema ndio. Kama kuna kipengele ingine hauamini, unaweza kusema la. Na inawezekana tuwe na maswali kama 5, 6 ama 7 ili tusiende katika kukataa ili hali uko na mambo ambayo ungependa yapite kule ndani, ama kukubali ili hali uko na mambo kule ndani ambayo ungependa isipitishwe. Kwa hivyo tumekubaliana ya kwamba sisi wabunge walio hapa wataunga mkono sheria iliyo bunge ya kamati inayosimamia mambo ya kutekelezwa kwa katiba ya Kioni, ili tuwe na nafasi ya referendum ambayo itakuwa na maswali kuzidi moja katika vipengele tofauti. Na vile vile tumesema kwa sababu ya hali ya uchumi iliyoko katika taifa letu la Kenya, na kwa sababu ya matatizo ya ugonjwa wa corona, Wakenya wengi hawawezi kujimudu kulipa gharama ya matibabu. tuko na matatizo watoto wetu Januari kurudi shuleni, lazima masks zinunuliwe, madawati zinunuliwe, expansion ya facilities katika shule ishughulikiwe. Tulikuwa tunapendekeza hii bilioni 15 badala ya kutumika kwenye referendum, tuweze kutumia hiyo pesa kushughulikia janga la corona na mambo ya uchumi ambayo iko chini kwa saa hizi, na tuweze kupiga kura hii ya maamuzi pamoja na uchaguzi 2022. Hiyo ndio mapendekezo yetu, na tunawauliza ndugu zetu wengine tuweze kuongea, tuweze kutafuta uwiano na maelewano na makubaliano ili tuweze kutembea pamoja kama Wakenya. Sisi tunaamini inawezekana hii draft constitution proposal ambayo imewekwa inaweza kuwa republished tena, ikichukua maoni, inaweza kuchapishwa upya ili ikichukua maoni kama sisi wote tutakubaliana twende barabara hiyo. Asante sana. Si nimejaribu kiasi? Haya. Sasa nitachukua maswali. Sorry. Nani? Pole bwana Leto.
Kwa sawa. Mimi naitwa Steven Leto wa Citizen TV. The proponents of the BBI referendum have said on Wednesday last week that the window for more amendments was already closed on that day, and that even today and the other day, more amendments, proposals from the Ilchamus community, as well as from Mombasa, were rejected, and that the signature collection is already ongoing. Number one, with your new, recommendations that you've brought forward, are you then seeking a suspension of the ongoing signature collection drive? And number two, the Secretariat has released timelines to have the referendum conducted before or by June next year. Should all these demands that you've made today not be met, including the consensus, are you going to flush the no card?
Thank you very much. I'm sure you are not new to the issue that the door is closed. Even in Bomas, we were told the door is closed. But our position is that it is never too late to do the right thing. This is our country. There are people who are saying it is late. How is it late? What is the crisis? What is the problem? This is our country. I want anybody to discount the proposals we are making here on the size of Parliament, on the need for consensus on the Ombudsman, on the need for consensus on the constituencies. If they are not reasonable, you can only discount them that they are not reasonable. But if they are reasonable, honestly, all it will take is to republish the bill and we go to the referendum. We have absolutely no problem with the collection of signatures. A collection of signatures is the easy part. That is just a process issue. What is more important is the content of what we are going to vote for. And that is our concern at the moment. Our priority at the moment is to improve the content of the text that will be voted for. The collection of signatures is the easy part.
My name is Nicholas Delay from
and maybe just to answer your question further, to say, let us not be simplistic and say, are you going to vote no or yes? That's a very simplistic approach. If we had taken that approach, we would not have made the improvements we have made from Bomas to KICC. Many people were pushing that the people who have better ideas should go and join the no team. We think that is not, that's actually reckless. It's not right. I think consensus requires that we listen to one another. In fact, building bridges means you have to reach out to the other side. I think it is even against the spirit of building bridges for anybody to shut a door on a good idea. Yes, my good friend.
Nicholas Delay from CAST TV. My question is, the advisory from CJ Maraga was there while we have the women representative in the House of the National Assembly. Your proposal says we retain the women rep, the 47 of them, as well as get the senators, women, 47 of them. How does this cure the question of two-third rule?
If you listen to our statement, we said women representation must be to as great an extent as possible elected. We want to discourage nominations. We should be, even if we are feeling the two-third gender rule, it must be elected representatives, women elected representatives. And we have suggested that let us have a conversation after the election of 47 women and the election in the Senate and 47 women in the National Assembly. We should have a conversation on Article 81, which discusses affirmative action. We should have a conversation. What do we do? How do we make sure? Do we make it progressive, or do we have additional women nominated to the National Assembly? That's the conversation we are inviting others to contribute, because we do not have the monopoly of good ideas. We believe that this should be open to a discussion with other stakeholders.
Good evening, sir. My name is Kennedy Muredi from NTV. There is the question that has just been asked about representation.
Yes.
And in the other case, we were looking at a likely scenario where no woman is elected in all the 360 constituencies. You're proposing that we have this conversation after the election of 47 women representatives in the National Assembly and 47 in the Senate. Are we not going to end up with the 600 and something members of Parliament after we've had that conversation? Number one. Number two, on the question of holding a referendum alongside the general election, are you basically telling your supporters that if the push to have a referendum by August next year is on, you're going to reject it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Muredi. I think you did not hear properly what we said. What we said, the conversation we are talking about is about reducing the current members of Parliament from 600. And I have told you the proposal we are putting on the table, in whatever form, will bring down that number from the number that is being proposed under the BBI arrangement. A minimum of 60 MPs will be slashed out by adopting the proposal we have made, even if we nominate the rest of the women to fill the two-thirds gender rule. So our proposal from the start will cut down the number of MPs that is being proposed currently in the BBI document. That's number one. We can even reduce it further, the size of Parliament. We can even reduce the size of Parliament further if we have a discussion about Article 81. Yeah, so that's the position. And then finally, relax. Finally, you have said that you always want to go to this yes no. You know, what we are saying is we are having a conversation, right? We are having a conversation, and when you are having a conversation on building consensus, you don't jump to conclusions. You know, we in any case, when we pass the law in Parliament that gives options for citizens, why would anybody want to oppose the document? Because there will be no need to oppose the document in its whole, because you can isolate the issues that you want to vote for and you can isolate the issues that you want to vote against. And it will just be as good as that. So there will be no, the camp of yes and the camp of no will not exist. There will be people voting for different things in different, I know you are used to the old yes, no. We can make it better. That was not my question.
My name,
yes.
My name is Mashari Wangui from Mount Kenya TV, and my brother Ruto asked a question, and the same question we don't have an answer. In the event that the BBI Secretariat remains stubborn and they don't include the proposals that you have, what are the steps or the step are you going to take as the group?
Why do you want to speak for them? Why don't you allow them? You know, why don't you allow them? Even if they say whatever they are saying, it has been said before. But you know, there is nobody who will resist. There is nobody who will resist what is right. The people on the other side are reasonable people. They are also intelligent. That is why they took on board the suggestions that were made by stakeholders after bombers, even after they said nothing will be changed. So they are reasonable and intelligent people, and they should be able to look at the merit of what we are saying. If it makes sense, we are comfortable that in their intelligence and reasonableness, they should be able to take on board what we are saying.
My name is Duncan. My name is Duncan Haemba from KTN.
Sema Haemba.
Bwana DP, we've been patient. We've listened to, apart from waiting, to Meskia statement imesoma for 1 hour. I can see the leaders want to leave when we are just seeking clarification. So I don't know what is the hurry, but since you are the host,
Relax.
maybe you can remain with us. Since you are the host, maybe you can remain with us until we get it clear. I have 2 quick questions I want to know from you.
Yes.
We are lost. We are beating around the bush. To borrow the edges, what he said, we are circumlocuting. Can we get it clear in the event that you are pushing for consensus? Yesterday we were given an update that it's over 2 million signatures. The window for signature collection is Friday, which means the next stop is the verification. In the case there is no room for consensus, are you for yes, are you for no? In the event that the consensus you are putting for, you are rooting for is not. The second question, what you are talking about the Kioni CIOC, it's a referendum bill that is already in court. Even if there was, it has already been suspended, and even if it was not suspended, that is what would give us a referendum law. Now, what we are having is the referendum question that has been framed under the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020. So could we address ourselves to this one? Because what Kioni is rooting for is a bill that maybe will come into law to have a referendum law in the country.
You have your facts on that particular issue, Haemba, with a lot of respect. Your facts are not together. We have actually 2 referendum laws in Parliament, 2 of them, bills. We have 2 bills in Parliament, one by the Kioni Committee, one by the JLAC, right? And all of them are actually almost at the tail end, yeah? In fact, the Speaker was supposed to give a ruling on harmonizing the 2. So, the reality of having a multiple choice referendum is real. So you need to relax. The referendum is not happening next week. If at all, this referendum will be happening in April next year or some other place at the earliest. So relax. So that is one. So when we talk about the possibility of us having a multi-choice referendum, we are not talking about something in space. We are talking about a reality, and members of the committees are seated here, and they have given us assurance that it is possible for that bill to be finalized in time for us to use it for a referendum. Are we together, Haemba? So, again, we are used to this yes, no, win, lose, or all or nothing. Please relax. There is another way of doing things called win-win. And that is what we are trying to fashion. It is not customary. It is not usual. That's why you have a problem with it. because you are not used to, you are just used to, oh, are you yes or are you no? Yeah? Are we together, Kayemba? So what we are saying, we want to improve our country, my friend. When you find me, you know me, normally I take positions and I'm very clear about. But you see, I am deputy president today. And I have the interests of every Kenyan. There are people who support us and they want a real choice to express themselves. There are issues they agree with, they want to vote for. There are issues they don't agree with, they want to vote against. And there is a real possibility for us to give them a chance to do that. Why do you, Kayemba, want us to deny them a chance and to tell them, go vote no or yes? Why? Honestly. You should, Kayemba, with a lot of respect, you should be helping me make the case that there is another way of doing this, where we do not divide the country, yes, no, we can actually vote on the issues. Tuko pamoja? Okay, good people. Asante sana. Asante sana. And I wish you well, asanteni sana, and all the best in whatever you're doing.
Yangu. Ina pick up kwa kamera kwa sasa. Oh, ni 5 ni sawa. That is why I had to do that. Niliona. Okay.